Hello, my name is Jennifer Jackson, and I've been a piano teacher for the last 25 years, and I'm also an EFT practitioner. So what is EFT, or tapping? EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, and it's also known as tapping because it literally involves tapping on the same meridian points used in acupuncture. Tapping looks a little funny and at first seems ridiculously simple. I have to admit that when it was first shown to me, I thought, this is way too simple to actually work. However, I soon learned that EFT is a powerful tool with an outstanding record for helping people overcome a wide range of conditions, including PTSD or post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, emotional overeating, physical pain, fears and phobias, and much, much more. In this presentation, we're going to explore how tapping can help with performance anxiety. By this point in the course, you have explored many reasons why performance anxiety develops and why it's natural to feel some fear or anxiety when performing. In this presentation, I'm going to talk about how EFT can interrupt and rewire neural patterns to help calm and soothe performance anxiety. So let's take a look at the three-part human brain. So first is the brain stem and cerebellum. This is the oldest part of the brain. It was the first to develop. It's the part down here, the green part here. And it's also called the reptilian brain, and it deals with basic survival issues. Next to develop was the middle part, the midbrain or the limbic system. And this is also called the mammalian brain or the emotional brain because it deals with emotions, encoding of emotions, and long-term storage of emotional events. It also has a job of keeping us safe. So last to develop was the neocortex. This is the newest part of the brain, and it's the part of the brain most strongly associated with being human. This is where logic, reason, and higher order thinking reside, and it's what makes possible the learning of languages and other high-level skills. Now, you may be familiar with the stress response, which is better known as the fight or flight response. Now, in this limbic system we were talking about, there is a little piece called the amygdala. And the amygdala is often called the body's smoke alarm because the minute the amygdala detects a threat in the environment, it initiates a fight or flight response, which is a series of physiological changes designed to protect us. During fight or flight, everything speeds up. Your heart beats faster, more blood is pumped to your arms and legs, your brain waves quicken, and stress hormones such as adrenaline and cortisol flood your body. In short, everything to make our ancestors as fast, strong, and alert as possible so they could have the best chance of either fighting a smaller threat or escaping a larger one. Now this is super helpful whenever you come face to face with a saber-toothed tiger, but not so helpful for instrumental performance. What tapping does with amazing efficiency is halt this fight or flight response in its tracks. So you might have noticed that the limbic system predates language and logic by millions of years. This means it doesn't understand English, Spanish, Swahili, or any other human language. Although telling yourself in English to relax may be great advice, the part of the brain, this red part here, controlling the switches for the stress response may not be getting the message. It may be like those old Charlie Brown cartoons. Remember when the teacher spoke, all the kids heard was wah, 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 wah. That's what I picture the limbic system understanding when we try to use language and logic on it. Tapping on the meridian points, however, is a form of communication the limbic system can receive and respond to. When the meridian points are tapped, the limbic system receives signals of calm and peace, and it responds by deactivating the stress response. EFT practitioners have been observing this for decades, but for those of us who like proof, we now have scientific research to confirm it. Researchers at Harvard Medical School have been studying the effects of acupoint stimulation on midbrain arousal, and they have documented with MRI and PET scans that when certain acupoints are stimulated, the activity in the limbic system associated with stress and fear go way down. they can even see the amygdala lowering its flag of distress. And in 2012, another team of researchers studied the effects of EFT on cortisol levels. And they found EFT to reduce cortisol levels at an unprecedented rate. So, in short, scientific studies have confirmed that EFT reduces the physical symptoms of stress by communicating with the primitive, nonverbal limbic system and directing it to call off the fight or flight response. EFT is also known for greatly diminishing the emotional intensity around past traumatic events. EFT is perhaps most famous for its tremendous success with PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. Up until recently, PTSD was a very difficult condition to treat, but EFT is one modality that has proven to be very successful because of its ability to reduce emotional intensity around events in the past. A part of the limbic system called the hippocampus is involved in categorizing things. As you go about your day, the hippocampus is constantly determining whether the experience you're having is emotionally significant enough to go into long-term storage. A typical unremarkable day of practice will not go into long-term memory storage as a significant event. But a failed performance is categorized as an emotionally charged event and goes into long-term memory storage. Another thing the hippocampus and amygdala do is constantly compare what's happening in your present moment to what's already in long-term memory storage. So imagine it's 2 months after this failed performance. Just walking out and seeing the keyboard and having to perform again, this new experience could trigger that failed performance, and all of a sudden you might suddenly start breathing heavily, your hands might shake, you might be sweating, whatever your performance anxiety symptoms might start, even before you start playing. So here's how EFT can help. As you bring to mind the bad performance experience, feelings will come up. As you tune into those feelings and tap on the meridian points, you will send calming signals to the limbic system. Eventually, the hippocampus will get the message that this event is not currently happening and will recategorize the bad experience. It will move it out of the trauma category and into a more neutral category. When this happens, clients generally report that this memory that was so highly charged just minutes before now simply feels like a story that happened. The memory no longer feels within them, but beside them. Scientists speculate that EFT not only lowers the emotional intensity around particular events, but actually permanently alters the neural pathways in your brain. When conditioned fear pathways in the limbic system are eliminated, similar stimuli no longer produce the same responses. In other words, EFT is actually able to rewire the brain so that events held in storage no longer get triggered in the same way. In other words, you can use EFT to rewire your brain so that past traumatic performing experiences don't immediately get triggered by new performing opportunities. So, in summary, EFT works powerfully on 3 different levels. It reduces the physical symptoms of stress by calling off or halting a stress response, so you can use it in the moment as you're getting stressed. It dramatically reduces the emotional intensity around past traumatic events by sending signals of calm and peace to the part of the brain storing the event, so you can remove the sting of the past bad performing experiences. And best of all, it rewires the brain to respond differently to future situations by moving events from the traumatic category into a more neutral category in long-term memory storage. Once these events are recategorized, they are no longer triggered in the same way by current events. So that's a quick summary of the science behind why EFT is so effective. And now I'd love for you to see how EFT is done. So go to the How to Tap video. Thanks for tuning in.